And it's my pleasure to introduce the next brave cast member, Mike.
Yikes, I don't know how I let them talk me into putting that first picture up there with the eyes crossed and everything. Glad there's not any little kids here, traumatize them for quite a long time. Good evening, everybody. My name is Mike. I suffer from generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and occasional depression. I am happy to be here, however, although my journey started a little more nerve-wracking. I had never heard of This Is My Brave before when two of my good friends approached me and asked me to audition. And they said, you have a really good sense of humor, you should really try out. And I said, well, so, what do you want me to do? And they said, how about comedy? And I sent me right into basically a panic attack. I said, well, why would I, such a serious topic, why would I want to come up and joke about that? It's originally, it took a while, but I finally decided that if my story could help anybody relate to mental illness or issues with anxiety or panic attacks, or if I could make somebody laugh, I decided that it would be worth it. So I agreed, and thankfully I was chosen to be part of the cast. Ironically, as soon as that happened, I started to tell all my friends and family, hey, I'm going to be in this show. And they said, that's great, aren't you worried though? Worried that you're not going to be funny? And I said, well, I wasn't before, but I am now. Asking somebody with anxiety if they're worried about something is the absolute worst. You don't even have to finish the sentence, Are you worried? Yes. Let's just leave it at that. So I've been suffering from panic attacks for about 11 years now. My very first panic attack, I said I can look back on it now and laugh. At the time, it was not funny at all. I was driving home from work one day. I was on 95 North. And all of a sudden, my heart started pounding out of my chest, and not the type of racing heart that you get from working out or running. It was just very hard beating, scary, So I started freaking out a little bit, and then I realized that I was having a lot of trouble breathing. So I didn't know what was going on. Then my extremities started to lock up on me, and I said, this is not good. I said, I need to. This is the big one, I got to call my family, tell them I love them, get all my affairs in order, And this was also back before iPhones. I still had a flip phone. So, given all that information, a little audience participation, can't breathe, heart pounding. What do you think's happening? Heart attack, right? So, I couldn't bend my fingers. I had a flip phone, and I had to use my nose to open the phone and dial 911. On top of that, my father, who had suffered from and survived 2 heart attacks when he was younger, had always told me, if you ever think you're having a heart attack, cough really hard. Start coughing really hard. So here I am on 95 with my car, using my nose to call 911, telling the operator I'm having a heart attack, coughing as loud as I could. So, long story short, ambulance came, picked me up, took me to the hospital, explained to me that I was not having a heart attack and that I had just had a massive panic attack. I said, I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. Well, maybe my worst enemy, but not, So then once it was diagnosed that I had, the panic attack and panic disorder, then comes, you got to go to the therapist. I said, I knew I had it really, really bad because the first time I walked into my psychiatrist's office, I walked in with my pants around my ankles, and she said, clearly I can see you're nuts. So I knew I was in trouble then. Then she started talking about all the different kind of medications I could take. She said you could take this medication. Side effects include night sweats, numbness and tingling down your one side of your body, trouble breathing. And I said, well, as divine as that sounds, do you have anything else, So she said, well, you can try this medication. And she started out right away, and she said, this one, side effects include, erectile dysfunction. And I said, whoa, stop right there. That's going to be a hard no for me, doc, So eventually I got on a good regimen. So I'm starting to wonder if the big man upstairs doesn't think I'm that funny. So I got on a regimen that worked for me. It didn't cure me altogether, but it definitely was better. So then the first few years of it's like nuts. Maybe I should stop talking. So then came the first few years of the panic attacks, and I made more trips to the emergency room than I care to remember. It got to be like Chili's call ahead. I'd call up, and they knew me on a first name basis. They'd be like, hey, Mike, what's going on today? Hey, hi, Susan. I'm having chest pain. I can't breathe. I'm on my way in. Please make sure my room's ready. Make sure Bonnie's there today. She's very gentle with the IVs. And it got to the point, I said, I probably earn like frequent flyer miles, like with a plane, like with hospitals. So I could probably go visit any emergency room in the continental United States for free. So over the years, I learned coping mechanisms. And as you've heard tonight, some people deal with music or writing or, meditation. You got to find what works for you. One thing I do not advise, though, is if you ever, have lots of symptoms, do not ever Google them, right? Because you go to a site, put in your symptoms, you might get 4 or 5 results. The first few are common, cold, stress, and then you get the one that's only been diagnosed one time to somebody in a third world country, and you're like, that's what I got, right there. That's what I have. But living with anxiety and panic attacks, we have to fight a little bit harder than most people. We have to be a little bit stronger than most people. I'm lucky enough I have a job, that I've worked full time. My job is very understanding, which confuses me because when I filled out the application, it said, what state do you live in? And I said, constant fear. And yet they hired me anyway. So, and we tend to be tired. We tend to be more tired than the normal person. I take my fair share of naps. If it were an Olympic event, I'd have more gold medals than Michael Phelps. So, but everybody up here on this stage, or anybody who deals with mental health issues, are superheroes to me. And just like everybody else, I wanted to be a superhero when I was younger. I said, but I would make the worst superhero. I would be like the hot Flash. My superpower would be being able to jump to the worst possible conclusion in a single bound. I'd be a member of the Injustice League, not the Justice League. So hopefully, I'd have some other superheroes with me, like the incredibly insecure Hulk, or Worry Woman, or Captain Anxiety. So. But if I could just say one thing to everybody, is just there is hope. This organization has proven that to me. There is hope, and never ever give up. So thank you for letting me tell my story.